Two cunning criminals devise a devious plan, seamlessly combining bank robbery with home invasion. Their approach is ruthless. They take the families of bank employees hostage to gain access to the vaults. For years, the FBI chases them, but their efforts yield nothing. When the robbers are finally caught, they refuse to surrender quietly. Their brilliant escape triggers a fresh wave of crimes, putting the FBI back on their trail once again. Too often, prison serves as a training ground where convicts learn new tricks and find like-minded partners. In 1982, a group of ex-cons embarks on a spree of kidnappings and robberies. I'm Jim Carlstrom, former head of the FBI's New York field office. A seasoned investigator recounts. These criminals master the art of disguise, hiding behind false identities while relying on their criminal network to evade capture. The FBI is left with no choice but to infiltrate these underworld circles, putting their agents' lives at risk as they recruit informants. On December 28, 1982, Steve Thompson, vice president of the Oklahoma City Bank, and his wife Ellen return home from a party. As they pull into their driveway, an unexpected vehicle suddenly appears. Before they can react, men jump out, storm into their garage, and shout, "Mr. Thompson, we're with the FBI." Within moments, the couple is subdued. Thompson, still in shock, assumes it's all a mistake. They must have the wrong house, he thinks. Why would the FBI be here? Try and clear things up, he says. You're making a mistake. Can I see your identification? The answer comes in the form of a gun. One of the men, wearing a wig, silently watches as events unfold. Come with us. Another orders. There are 3 intruders in total. One drove them there and promptly vanished with a getaway car. The remaining 2 force the couple inside their home. The leader interrogates Thompson about his role at the bank. Automatically, Thompson chooses the safest path, compliance. He answers their questions about the bank's intricate security system, careful to prioritize the safety of his colleagues. Do you know the vault combination? One of the criminals demands. Thompson knows that revealing this information could endanger more people. Thinking quickly, he responds, only certain employees have that knowledge. We'll have to see who's there tomorrow. The criminals make it clear. Any attempt to alert the authorities will have fatal consequences. If anyone triggers an alarm tomorrow, the leader threatens, I'll take out the police. I'm not going back to prison. The night is long. The Thompsons remain hostages, trapped in their own home, fearing what dawn will bring. By morning, they have no choice but to comply. The criminals force Steve to drive to the bank under their watchful eye, while Ellen remains hostage to ensure his obedience. The heist is about to begin. As the morning sun casts its first light, the criminals prepare to execute their plan. They drive with Steve Thompson toward the Oklahoma City Bank, keeping him under strict watch. Meanwhile, his wife Ellen remains at home as collateral. Any misstep on Steve's part could cost her life. At precisely 9 a.m., they wait for the bank employees to arrive. A woman in a black floral dress enters. One of the robbers keeps an eye on her as she steps inside. Throughout the heist, someone remains in constant contact via telephone, relaying real-time updates on who enters and leaves the building. The criminals know that only specific employees have access to the intricate security system. They issue a chilling warning. We're armed, but if everyone cooperates, no one will get hurt. Thompson, still playing along to protect his colleagues, is asked again, who knows the vault code? I don't, he answers truthfully. And not all employees do either. Those without access are ordered to wait in the restroom, while the robbers focus on identifying the key personnel. A tall, blonde employee enters. Stay calm. Act normal. One of the criminals whispers. The bank security system requires more than one person to unlock the vault. The criminals know this, and they're prepared. They order Thompson and other essential staff members to follow their instructions to the letter. Do you know the combination to the safe? One of them demands. Yes. An employee replies reluctantly. Good. Come with us. As the vault doors open, they are just one step away from an enormous payday. The final barrier between them, and hundreds of thousands of dollars, is removed. No games. No tricks. Open it. The leader, the one wearing a wig, exudes the most danger. His presence alone makes it clear. Resistance is not an option. Within 30 minutes, the criminals hold a fortune in their hands. "You got it?" one asks. "Yeah, let's go." They need the bank keys for their exit, so they force Steve Thompson and the manager to join the other hostages. Before leaving, they warn, "We'll be here for 5 more minutes. Don't move. Don't try anything." Then silence. Thompson listens closely. The criminals' voices fade as they move toward the exit. He is certain that within moments, they'll be gone. He waits a minute and a half before cautiously opening the door. Nothing. The robbers have vanished. Without wasting another second, he turns to the manager. "Call the police." The emergency call reaches the Oklahoma City Police Department. "A robbery at the Oklahoma City Bank. We need help immediately." Patrol units rush to the scene. Officers secure the building, ensuring that the criminals are truly gone. Within minutes, the FBI arrives. Under federal law, bank robberies involving federally insured banks fall under the jurisdiction of the FBI. With a nationwide task force now in place, the hunt for the robbers officially begins. That evening, the Thompsons recount their horrifying experience to FBI agents. "Were you injured?" an agent asks. "No," Steve replies, shaking his head. But they knew exactly what they were doing. It was all planned perfectly. This was an impulsive crime. The robbers had experience, and they left no evidence behind. However, as the FBI scours its database, agents uncover a pattern. Similar crimes have been committed across the country. Bank employees taken hostage in their own homes the night before a robbery. Special Agent Steve Chonow, stationed in Phoenix, is alerted. Listening to the details of the Oklahoma City case, he instantly recognizes the MO. "I know these guys," he mutters. Their names? Terry Connor and Joseph Doggett. The two fit the profile perfectly. Their past heists matched every detail of the Oklahoma City robbery. Chonow, well acquainted with the duo, is assigned as lead investigator. His first task? Tracking them down. Terry Connor and Joseph Doggett were no ordinary criminals. Their partnership was forged behind bars, where they learned to perfect their craft. Connor, originally from the West Coast, had been imprisoned for 3 bank robberies in Arizona. Each time, he and his crew took bank employees hostage overnight to force cooperation the next morning. Doggett, on the other hand, was a thug from Philadelphia, brash, reckless, and violent. His usual approach to robbery was simple, walking with a gun in one hand and a note in the other that read, "Hand over the money, or things get ugly." Unlike Connor, he wasn't particularly sophisticated, but what he lacked in finesse, he made up for in brutality. Connor was a mastermind, skilled at recruiting accomplices. The FBI, knowing he originally came from California, decided to start their search there. Agents reached out to their Monterey office, where Special Agent Harlan Frere took the lead. The Oklahoma investigators had a tip. Connor had a girlfriend in Pacific Grove, California. If he was on the run, he might be hiding with her. Frere and his team began surveillance on her home. One night, they spotted a car with Oklahoma plates parked outside. That was all the confirmation they needed. Connor was likely inside. But there was a problem. The vehicle wasn't registered under his real name. The agents checked their databases but found nothing linking the car to Connor. That could mean only one thing. He had bought it under an alias. Connor's girlfriend wasn't home when the agents arrived. Instead, they questioned her gardener, explaining they were conducting a federal investigation and urging him to remain silent. "Have you seen a man visiting recently?" one agent asked. The gardener hesitated, then shook his head. "No, but I overheard her mentioning meeting someone next week. Terry, I think his name was." That was all the FBI needed to know. Connor was planning to meet his girlfriend soon, and they had to be ready. For days, agents monitored her movements. She switched between multiple cars, making tracking difficult. Undeterred, the FBI bugged every vehicle she used, installing tracking devices. From that moment on, every time she drove, she unknowingly led the agents closer to Connor. The day of their anticipated meeting arrived, and the agents followed her as usual. Then disaster struck. The signal from the tracking device vanished. Connor's girlfriend had gone dark. Immediately, agents scrambled, dispatching patrol units in every direction to locate her. In a stroke of luck, an overhead surveillance plane regained the signal and relayed the new location to the ground teams. Agents rushed to the site, a restaurant parking lot. The car was there, but Connor was nowhere in sight. They decided on a new strategy. Don't touch the car. Just watch it. With their patience wearing thin, the FBI could only hope their suspect would eventually show himself. Hours passed, and the FBI maintained their silent watch over the restaurant parking lot. Then, their patience paid off. Terry Connor arrived. He pulled up in a different car, casually stepping out and walking toward his girlfriend's vehicle. To the agents, he looked just like the man from the surveillance photos. Sharp features, confident stride, completely unaware of the trap waiting for him. Special Agent Harlan Frere signaled his team. That's him. Move in. The SWAT team, already in position, took over. FBI, hands up. Don't move. Connor froze for a split second, then went for his waistband. Was he armed? Don't do it, an agent barked. Realizing he was surrounded, Connor hesitated and slowly raised his hands. The FBI swarmed him, pinning him to the pavement before he had a chance to run. His girlfriend, who had been waiting inside the restaurant, was taken in for questioning. She was shaken but cooperative. I had no idea what he was doing, she insisted. With Connor now in custody, the FBI agents searched his vehicle. They hadn't expected much. Maybe some fake IDs, perhaps a small stash of cash. What they found was far more valuable. Connor had left his trunk open when they arrested him. Legally, that was a game changer. Because it was already open, the FBI didn't need a warrant to look inside. Inside, they discovered a wallet stuffed with nearly $4,000 in cash. The serial numbers matched bills stolen from the Oklahoma City bank heist. But that wasn't all. They also found a large diamond, along with a jeweler's receipt for 6 more. It was clear. Connor had been preparing for something big. Back at the FBI's Monterey office, agents interrogated him about the Oklahoma City robbery. He refused to talk. But they didn't need his confession. His possessions told the story. Connor was officially charged with bank robbery and transported back to Oklahoma to stand trial. However, there was still one major problem. Joseph Dougherty was still out there. With Terry Connor behind bars, the FBI turned their full attention to tracking down his partner, Joseph Dougherty. They knew one thing for certain. Dougherty wasn't the kind of man to stay out of trouble for long. He would need money, and that meant more robberies. Their first real lead came from an unexpected source. While searching through Connor's possessions, agents found a car registration slip for a vehicle purchased in Reno, Nevada. The buyer's name? Russell Anderson. But there was no Russell Anderson. The FBI suspected it was an alias, and their instincts proved correct. The address listed on the registration led them to a house in Santa Maria, California. They called in a SWAT team and surrounded the property, ready for a possible confrontation. Dougherty is likely armed, the lead agent warned his team. But when they finally made entry, the house was empty. Dougherty had slipped away again. The FBI believed Connor had warned him before his own arrest, giving Dougherty enough time to vanish. Weeks passed with no sign of him. Then, in Phoenix, Arizona, just a day before Black Friday, one of the busiest shopping days of the year, there was another robbery. The crime had Dougherty's signature all over it. A prominent banker and his family were taken hostage inside their home on Thanksgiving night. The next morning, before sunrise, Dougherty and his new accomplice forced the banker to drive them to his workplace. "I have your wife and children," Dougherty had whispered, pressing a gun against the man's ribs. "If you don't cooperate, they die." Terrified, the banker followed every instruction. By the time the FBI was notified, Dougherty was already gone, with $27,000 in stolen cash. But this time, he had made a critical mistake. He had robbed a bank in Special Agent Steve Channel's hometown. The moment Chanow heard about the case, he knew, "There's only one person who would pull something like this," he told his team. Dougherty was back, and he was more reckless than ever. This wasn't just another robbery. It was a challenge. Dougherty wanted the FBI to know he was still in the game, and Chanow had no intention of letting him walk away this time. Joseph Dougherty had escalated his tactics. He was no longer just robbing banks. He was turning violent. The FBI knew that if they didn't stop him soon, someone was going to get killed. Then, a chilling development. A bank in Reno, Nevada, was robbed using Dougherty's signature method. An employee and his family were taken hostage the night before. But this time, Dougherty left something behind. A bomb. The terrified employee was chained to what appeared to be an explosive device. The criminals warned that if he didn't follow their instructions, they would detonate it. The bomb squad was called in. Carefully, a technician examined the device. After what felt like an eternity, he made a discovery. It was fake. The FBI now knew Dougherty was becoming even more dangerous. He had no problem terrorizing people, even if it meant making them believe they were about to die. With urgency at an all-time high, the FBI ramped up their search. A break came when a white sedan with Washington plates was spotted speeding away from the Reno crime scene. Investigators traced the car to a used dealership. The seller recalled that the buyer, matching Dougherty's description, had purchased it alongside a pregnant woman. This was a crucial lead. The FBI suspected Dougherty had a girlfriend and was likely traveling with her. They called in the U.S. Marshals, experts at tracking fugitives. The marshals followed a winding trail of vehicle purchases, alias names, and rental records. Eventually, a breakthrough came, a minor car accident in Idaho. The driver's name on the report? A known alias of Dougherty. Agents rushed to the location but found the house abandoned. Neighbors, however, confirmed that a man fitting Dougherty's description had frequently fired guns in his backyard. They had a baby just a week ago, one woman added. Then they packed up and left. Checking moving company records, the FBI found that Dougherty's girlfriend had rented a truck to Colorado. That was it. The FBI had him. The standoff in Colorado. Agents located the home, a secluded cabin near Denver. For 2 days, they observed from the woods, watching for any movement. Dougherty's girlfriend finally stepped outside, accompanied by another man. The agents debated their options. But one thing was clear. The baby was still inside the house with Dougherty. They couldn't risk a firefight. Instead, they followed the two individuals into town, where they quietly arrested them. Under questioning, Dougherty's girlfriend confirmed their worst fear. He's inside, and he has a gun. With no time to lose, the SWAT team took positions. "This is it," an agent whispered. "Let's bring him in." At dawn, they made their move. From the shadows, they watched as Dougherty stepped onto porch, a .357 Magnum in his hand. The lead agent spoke into his radio. "Hold fire. Wait for the right moment." Dougherty was completely unaware he was surrounded. The FBI called the house phone. "Joe, this is the FBI. You're surrounded. Surrender now." A tense silence. Then Dougherty hung up. The agents had no choice. A flashbang grenade was launched through the window. Dougherty stumbled back as the SWAT team stormed in. Down on the ground, hands up, blinded and disoriented, Dougherty had no time to react. Within seconds, it was over. The fugitive who had tormented the FBI for years was finally in custody. Justice at last. Terry Connor and Joseph Dougherty were both sentenced to life in prison plus 139 years with no chance of parole. Their criminal empire, built on fear, deception, and violence, was finally over. Their partnership, permanently severed. Dougherty and Connor were sent to separate maximum security prisons, ensuring they would never work together again. The FBI had won. The reign of terror was over.